Lewis Hamilton has revealed some very bad news for his Mercedes team, with the 7-time champion revealing that the new W14 car's concept is fundamentally flawed and that catching up to the leaders will be a difficult task. In fact, the Brackley team's car issues could be so severe that it could take several seasons for them to fully recover, essentially giving his arch-rival Max Verstappen free rein over the sport. Without further ado, let's look into Hamilton's remarks, the team's response to its inability to catch up over the winter, and why it appears that all hope has already been lost so early on. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are preparing for a difficult start to the new season after the W14 appeared to be firmly behind reigning world champions Red Bull at this weekend's Bahrain Grand Prix, as well as Ferrari and perhaps Aston Martin. Hamilton came in 8th place at the end of Friday's second practice session, 6/10 down on the pace set by Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso and half a second behind the Red Bulls. With Mercedes having said they were satisfied to have addressed many of the uncomfortable shortcomings of last year's W13, the W14 may be a better car to drive. But Hamilton acknowledged the performance isn't quite at the level he'd hoped for. "We found out we're a long way off," he told the media at the conclusion of Friday's action. "So we kind of knew that a little bit at the test, but it's a big gap. I'm trying everything I can out there, but it is what it is." The W14's overall pace is also unlikely to be significantly affected by setup changes, according to Hamilton, who felt the car was already operating within a favorable performance window. That is really bad news for the team, as it essentially means they will have to make do with what they have until significant performance upgrades can be brought, which is unlikely to happen until the 6th race of the season in Imola, when the Formula One circus will return to Europe. Mercedes has also placed itself in a precarious position by sticking with the divisive zero sidepod concept, which could be so detrimental as to render any work done on top of it redundant. Nevertheless, Trackside Engineering Director Andrew Shovlin is convinced that Mercedes starts from a better position this year, having successfully eliminated the bouncing problem. "The big thing is we've got rid of the bouncing, so we're able to run the car where we want to," he told Sky Sports following the opening practice session in Bahrain. "It's much smoother than what we had last year. We're still working on the balance. We haven't really got that where we need it, even though we had the 3 days, so there's more to do." The side pods are a similar theme, but if you go and copy someone else, you go backwards before you go forwards. The big focus for us was really just trying to add performance and get rid of that bouncing. Shovlin admitted that teams frequently look to their rivals for ideas and inspiration, also appearing open to the possibility that Mercedes could move away from the zero-pod concept. However, he stressed the tackling of the porpoising problem as a key step in the team's potential re-emergence as a regular victory contender. With other teams applying the Red Bull concept, Mercedes faced a choice for 2023 over whether to follow the crowd or persevere with their own technical philosophy. And appearing on Sky Sports F1's coverage of the opening practice session at the Sakir circuit, Martin Brundle expressed his surprise that Mercedes did not draw design inspiration from Red Bull for their 2023 car. It's legitimate to question their choice. Mercedes has repeatedly stressed that allowing its engineers to come up with their own solutions is the best way to address their problems. But is this really the case? We've seen from Aston Martin's meteoric rise that copying elements of last year's champions can bear fruit, so it appears like a sound strategy for a team that wants to return to the fray at the front of the pack. Mercedes should be worried, and it doesn't get any more reassuring when Hamilton says he sensed there would be significant challenges as soon as he drove the car. In fact, that's exactly the same feeling he described with last year's Challenger, and you all know how that went. "I knew from the moment I drove the car where we were and the challenges that we would be facing," said Hamilton. On the positive, not having the bouncing this year is a huge plus. Trying to understand what the problems were whilst having bouncing really masked so many things. It made it difficult to figure out what was up. So we don't have that now. And now we can focus on just pure performance. So I've been encouraged to see just the focus and the courage of everyone within the team. They are so focused on getting us back to the top. So we're not where we wanted to start a season naturally, but this is still a multi-championship winning team and group of people, so I still believe in them. While Mercedes has been fairly clear about the value they place on their own solutions to Formula One's technical problems, they don't seem to be using the same standards when it comes to hiring new employees. With team principal Toto Wolff being spotted walking into the Bahrain paddock with Red Bull's former COO Jane Poole on Friday morning, Mercedes has confirmed that she has been signed as a senior advisor at the squad. She's expected to work closely with Wolff, participate in assessing Mercedes' current infrastructure, and provide input on any potential changes that might be made, particularly as teams get used to operating within the cost cap. Poole is well known within the F1 paddock, and in her role as COO and HR director at Red Bull over many years, provided solid support to team principal Christian Horner, who she was regularly seen with at Grand Prix. Her understanding of how Red Bull operates may also be advantageous to Mercedes as it plans its comeback to the front of the F1 grid. Wolff has always been upfront about the necessity for F1 teams to continuously change and adapt, so that the team is never put in a vulnerable position if senior figures leave. He said in a speech earlier this year, "I think one of the successes in our team was planning succession. It's clear that you can't freeze a successful structure, but you need to almost reinvent yourself whilst keeping what's good." Mercedes has already faced the need to reshuffle things this year, following the departure of former strategy chief James Vowles, who has become team principal at Williams. Vowles' departure, according to Wolff, served as a reminder for his team to focus on future readiness. In terms of the duties Vowles assumed as he stepped away from direct strategy involvement this year, which included overseeing the team's young driver program, Mercedes has not yet appointed a direct replacement for him. However, Jerome D'Ambrosio, a former F1 driver who most recently served as team manager for Venturi in Formula E, has been linked to a position at Mercedes. D'Ambrosio attended the team's test in Bahrain last week as a guest and is expected to be at the Grand Prix. Now, back to the car. While the new Mercedes car's grip level isn't quite at Red Bull's level yet, the biggest grip gap appears to be on straights. After years of domination, during which Mercedes enjoyed a straight-line speed advantage over the rest of the grid, it has been a different story during Formula One's new rules era. In addition to porpoising and a lack of usable downforce, the W13 from last year also put Lewis Hamilton and George Russell at a massive disadvantage on the straights. The team was eager to improve its aero efficiency for this season, but Bahrain testing was notable for the fact that it didn't seem to have made any significant advancements in that area. However, a portion of the explanation seemed obvious, given that the squad ran its entire test program with what appeared to be a rear wing with high downforce. In contrast, rivals completed some of their laps with very different configurations. It seems Mercedes had a strategy in place, as the W14 was seen in the Sakir pit lane during practice with a wing that had less downforce. Hamilton himself explained that the new rear wing was being brought on as an experiment and played down talk of it being a game changer. Bringing such low downforce solutions so early in the campaign marks a change of tack for Mercedes. The W13 did not receive this kind of change until Miami last year, during which time the upper flap's trailing edge was shortened to aid in reducing drag. This time, not only has a decision been made earlier, but a brand new rear wing assembly is also now in use. Under the guise of the pre-2022 regulations, Mercedes may be familiar with this design language, but last season it didn't favor the spoon-shaped mainplane design at all. With competitors eager to take advantage of the aerodynamic benefits that can be obtained from such a design, this put it at odds with the majority of the field. Teams have long used the spoon-shaped mainplane design as a way to have their cake and eat it too, with the outer, shorter chord portion of the wing blending with the end plate to reduce the drag generated, while the inner, deeper portion of the wing is expected to generate more downforce. Time will tell if it succeeds in reducing the gap between them and Red Bull, but given how wide it is, it doesn't seem likely. What are your thoughts? Has Mercedes dropped the ball again this season? Will they be able to turn it around over the course of the season, or did they make a mistake by sticking with the zero sidepod concept? Please let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. Be sure to click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.